because they see Russian blood on the ground. But Turkey has veered toward Islamic rule. Turkey uses fascism on liberals in their own country. Turkey is not an open democracy any more than is Assad Syria. In fact, Turkey is less of a democracy to Christians and Kurds than is Assad to his enemies. But the idiots let Turkey into NATO, and the neo-Ottoman mad dog Erdogan has now brought the world closer to a world war. That's my theory. Go ahead, you're on the radio.
You've just said exactly what I thought 30 minutes ago. I'm in Australia. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I've gone on the internet. I've found out that Turkey shot down a bomb, and I thought they're trying to bring NATO in to make a war against Russia because they don't want Russia. They don't want Putin in protecting Assad, or that is wiping out ISIS, because they want ISIS to knock out Assad. Even
John, I hear you loud and clear in Australia. Your country's being overrun by Muslims. Your government is committing national suicide, as is our government. I know what's going on in Australia. I know about the terrorism. I know about the threats against your freedoms. I know that your leadership is just as corrupt in its neo-fascism under the guise of liberalism as is ours, as is all of the West, John. Thank you for the call. Attention, Michael Savage calling all thinking people. Do you have any idea what's going on? Do you have any idea what's happening right now? Barney, KBET Radio, fire away. You're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
There's no way that Turkey, like I reiterate, there's no way that Turkey was going to shoot down a Russian plane without a deal okay from Obama. I am a Democrat. He has gone much too far in too many places. He doesn't know what he's doing any longer. I agree with you, especially in the foreign policy. He has no idea. We don't want to turn global warming into a nuclear winter. He has to...
Very nicely put. I'm sending you a book that even a liberal might read called Government Zero. Won't arrive in time for Thanksgiving, but it will arrive in time for Christmas. Very serious times. Time for a very serious look with a very serious book.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
We got breaking news. The jihadists have declared war on Tunisia, and Tunisia's president has just declared a state of emergency throughout the entire nation and a curfew in the capital after an attack on a bus carrying his presidential guard that killed 12 of them. The president of Tunisia, Beji Caid Essebsi, said in a television address that the country is at war against terrorism. Do you understand terrorism is a war with the entire world, including moderate Muslims, such as those running Tunisia? Now, you have to ask yourself, how did this happen? How is it that this disease of radical Islam has been able to metastasize so rapidly in the last 2 years? The answer is because of the moron in the White House. The moron in the White House had no foreign policy experience. The moron in the White House knew only one thing, which is how to defeat his domestic political enemies, which he's very good at. He has crushed not only his domestic political enemies, but the U.S. Constitution, the Congress, and the people as well. Very successful at crushing his domestic enemies because that's what street agitators know how to do best. But you see, street agitators like Barry from Honolulu don't know anything about foreign policy. They learned at the foot of community organizers. Do I have to name them? Again, we have to say the word again. The Alinsky name, which you've heard about ad infinitum. He knows nothing about foreign policy, but if he was actually questioned on foreign policy, what you would find is that he still is a diehard anti-bourgeois individual, meaning no matter which way you skin the cat, it comes out the same way. No matter which way you skin the cat, you find that the American left, meaning Obama, and Islam share parallel ideologies. They both want totalitarian rule over all people as their primary objective. And they are working to achieve this goal at any cost. The American left and Islam hate human life. Rights have no meaning to them whatsoever except to use these rights to advance their power. And that is how the left continuously spouts rhetorical platitudes on social justice, equal rights out of one side of their mouth, and yet let the Stone Age barbarians who destroy women, gays, and minorities get away with it. They do nothing to them. They sell them weapons. They protect them. And that's why this is going on. You elected an idiot, a foreign policy idiot. He had weaknesses in that area that even the warmonger McCain was shown to have strengths in. The warmonger McCain was winning that campaign. I'm going back 2 campaigns now. And the moron McCain threw the election when he was asked if Obama was a Muslim. I'll never forget that sound. A woman at a town hall. Remember those town hall meetings in that distant past in America when we had town hall meetings before the staged fake Stalinist show trials we have now called campaign speeches? In those ancient days in America when we had town hall meetings, a woman, an ordinary woman, asked McCain, "Isn't Obama a Muslim and isn't he dangerous?" McCain immediately shut her up and said, "Oh, no. No, he isn't a Muslim. He's a good Christian man with a nice family." Well, that was the end of McCain, and that was the beginning of the end of America as you know it. Now, I've studied Article 5 of the NATO Treaty, which is a very important article. It defines the casus foederis, case for the alliance. And the most important point for you to remember is that Article 5 of the NATO Treaty commits each member state to consider an armed attack against one member state to be an armed attack against them all, which is why Obama took in the neo-Ottoman Erdogan of Turkey into NATO. It was specifically to provoke Russia. Specifically to provoke Russia. But this is too much for the average person before Thanksgiving. Your brain is stuffed with stuffing right now. And here we are. We're at war everywhere you turn. Moderates, huh? Is there any difference between, again, Obama's armed rebels, who he calls moderates, and ISIS? I don't know the difference. Anyone know the difference? Raise your hand if you know the difference. Definitively. Greg on WJR, do you know the difference between Obama's armed rebels, the moderates so-called, and the ISIS maniacs?
Mr. Savage, there is no such thing as moderate. Moderate is something that's made up by the White House. I am a Syrian Christian, and there is no such thing as moderate.
I'm listening to you. I hear it. I know there's no difference, but you know it better than I do. You have faced these animals. You know who they are. Tell the people. Tell the world who these moderates are that Obama loves so much.
There is no such thing. You go to shop at certain places in Syria. If they see the crucifixion, they close their door. They don't want to sell you anything, or they don't want to bother with you. These are fanatic Muslim people that being killed over there. They're killing us. That is the truth.
No, I know it's the truth, and that's why Obama won't let Christians in from Syria. Instead, he wants Muslims. Why is he flooding America with Muslims in every town and village in this country? What is he wanting to do? Why does he want women in burqas walking around in Michigan? What is that going to accomplish in this society when you have medieval costumes marching around? You know what the men are behind those women who put women in those horrid costumes? Do you know that costume where they put a woman in a full body tent and only permit her eyes to look out is not even in the Quran? Do you know that's not even in the holy book of the Muslim? He's bringing in the most fanatical of the Muslims, not even the most, quote, moderate of the Muslims. He is bringing in the most fanatical in most cases. How far he has to dig, he'll dig. I don't know how you liberals who are into human rights, gay rights, women's rights, don't see what's going on. I don't understand where the geniuses called progressives are. How can they be celebrating this? Greg, stay on the line. I'm sending you my great book, Government Zero. It's only a book. It's only a book. We're way past needing a book in this world. Boy, oh boy, we need more than a book. How does this end? Are we being drawn into World War III? Is that what the thin smoking man wants? He's provoking Putin, there's no question. Now, I know, they went over the border by, what, a mile? Half a mile? Do we know how far over? People are saying Turkey is justified. They were defending their land. Well, we have a land here, too, which has a border. And Obama lets Mexicans, Guatemalans, El Salvadorans, Chinese, Nicaraguans, you name it, pour over our border, invading and destroying our sovereignty. Why does he not care about our sovereignty, but only the sovereignty now all of a sudden of Turkey? All of a sudden, a border region between Turkey and Syria. Most of us don't even know where this is. Most of us don't even know it's a mountainous region, which is hardly defined, by the way, with a clear border. And so the Russian jets were, let's say, either flying on the Syrian border or over the border of Turkey. And for that reason, you want to start a World War III? That's not the reason they shot the Russian jets down with American equipment, by the way. F-16s, American hardware. And then when a rescue helicopter was sent to find the downed Russian pilots, the rescue helicopters were shot down with an American anti-tow missile in the hands of Obama's moderate Syrian rebels. So this is your community organizer. The lunatic is not a loose cannon. He's far worse than that. He's taken the cannon and aimed it at its own ship, at his own ship. Imagine you're on the deck of an old ship with cannons that can be rolled back and forth. Go all the way back to that imagery. This guy is such a lunatic that he's had his crew take the cannons and turn them around and aimed at his own ship. So what's coming next? Why does Obama want to provoke Russia? Did you see the press conference? Anyone raise your hand if you saw the shameful press conference? You had this embarrassment of a president of ours talking about kissing Michelle Obama in Luxembourg Gardens. Unto itself, I was appalled at his lack of class. But let's put that aside. It's a matter of taste. Then I saw this guy, Hollande, with his legs spread. They were both sitting in little chairs with their Did anyone notice this? Here you have two socialists, clueless socialists sitting together, looking as unpresidential as you could ever get. Hollande with his jacket open, with his pot belly hanging over his gut hanging over his thighs. What happened to the French? Where is the dignity of the French if they would elect a toad like him? A human toad, Hollande, sitting there with the legs open, with the jacket unbuttoned. Everyone knows if you're going to sit like that for a television shot, you get an oversized jacket to cover up your gut. This moron lets the gut hang over. He looks like not a buffoon, a buffalo frog. A buffo. A bullfrog. A small bullfrog sitting in a chair. And the longer they talked, the weaker they sounded. A real president would get up and make a few statements about how they're going to crush ISIS and then turn it over to the French. Then they would have a leader, let's say on the level of a Charles de Gaulle or someone on that leader who would with dignity come out looking like a French foreign legionnaire and say with clarity, we will destroy these cockroaches. We have the weaponry to do it. We have the masculinity to do it. Vive la France! And that would have been the end of the press conference. Instead, these two schmucks went on and on and on. You're on now. All right, Francois. All right, Barack, you next. Back and forth like two morons. I was watching it through the eyes of the enemy, and the enemy laughed at them. The enemy was laughing at the hollowness of these two men. All sound and fury, signifying nothing. 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 And so what does the Islamic regime do? They attack in Tunisia. They may have attacked in northern France, or it can just be a bank robbery. We don't know. They're not running away, are they? They're running away scared? In the ideal world, America and Russia would be brothers in arms against the scourge that threatens all of our lives. But you see, that's when we had a Christian nation. We thought that way. If we had a Christian president who thought in those terms and understood it is a religious war, whether we want it to be or not, it is a religious war. Some call it a clash of civilizations because they don't have the nerve to say what it really is, which is a religious war. It's Islam versus the world. And it's a virulent form of Islam, a radical form of Islam against the entire world. And if we had a Christian president who identified as a Christian and identified the nation as a Christian nation, founding, of course, was a Christian nation, he would understand that Russia is our greatest ally against this cancer. Instead, he chooses to fight with Russia, undermine Russia, antagonize Russia and now perhaps draw Russia into a war